Now that we've covered qualifications, it's about time that we went over alpha, what it is, and how it fits into our tree. Put simply, alpha is a channel separate from red, green, and blue that dictates how visible or transparent a particular pixel is. If a pixel has an alpha value of 0, then regardless of its colour, it will not show up at all. It will be transparent, and therefore not visible. Any pixel outside of a qualification has an alpha value of 0. That's why we don't see the adjustment made on any pixel outside of the qualification made with the qualifier or the power windows. For example, only the face is going green here. The pixels outside of our qualification are essentially transparent within that node, and therefore not affected, and do not show up in our final image. One extremely powerful thing in Resolve is the ability to combine alpha channels. We can make a qualification in the qualifier and then make a power window to further refine that qualification, which is what we did previously. This is called a garbage matte, and when keying a green screen, this kind of key combining, as it's called, can lead to extremely precise qualifications. We'll go over some examples of this in this exercise, and then we will go on to our real-world projects where we're going to do a lot more with this. For the time being, we're going to do a bit of a basic introduction. So first off, how to read alpha and your node tree. So we have our basic green dots, triangles and squares up here denoting our RGB inputs and outputs. And we also have some blue ones. We have some blue triangles and some blue squares. The blue triangle is an alpha input, and the blue square is an alpha output. Using these, we can carry our qualification forwards and use them as keys. This means we can use the qualification in one node and make another node that affects things outside of that qualification. So for example, in this shot, I've just wanted to qualify Wayne's skin tones, and I will reset this grade right here. Now that we've pulled this basic key, we can make an outside node with the keyboard shortcut Alt-O or Option O. Alternatively, we can click on a node, right-click and choose Add Node, Add Outside, and that will do the same. Now notice that as well as the noodle going from our RGB output to the RGB input of the next node, we have a dotted line going from the alpha output of node 2 to the alpha input of node 3. And notice when I take a look at the qualification on node 3, it's the exact opposite. It looks a little bit like something out of Smiling Friends at the moment. And this now allows me to make adjustments in this node around the skin tones. The benefit of doing this is that I can now work on the skin tones in one node. I can warm them up, make them a bit more appealing. And then in the very next node, I can make it so that everything outside of those is very cartoony and bright and saturated. But it does not ruin his skin tones. Remember, skin tones look very strange very quickly if we go overboard. So this is a good use case for the outside node. And it's very, very commonly used in all kinds of stylized looks. We build our looks around the skin tones. The skin tones are the most important colors in the image. This is a very basic form of working with alpha. We've taken a good look at preserving a single color. But for argument's sake, let's say that I want to preserve or isolate two colors. Let's say that in this image, I want to look at the blue in the background and also the red in the flower, in the graffiti back here. So I'm just going to delete these nodes. In fact, I will make a new node. Now, a single key isn't going to do this because blue and red are too far away from each other on the spectrum, and I'm going to get the purple shirt, which I don't want to do. For the sake of this demonstration, I want to isolate blue and I want to isolate red. So, what can I do? First, I need to key out the blue. I need to key out the color that I need in this node. There we go. So the blue is very easy to key out, but I want to work with the green as well, and I want to work with the green on the same node. So what I'm going to have to do here is make our first branching node tree structure. Up until now, the node tree has just been a straight line. What I want to do is make a new node, and the easiest way to make an unconnected serial node is just to right-click in a blank space, add node, corrector. Now I need to left-click on the output of node 2 and drag it to the input of the new node 4. Because if it doesn't receive an input, the node does not do anything. So, right-click, add node, corrector. Once the corrector is here, you need to manually connect it to another node, whichever node is appropriate for what you want to do. Here, what I want to do is take the resulting image from this correction and key out the red in the flower. So I've connected it from this node, node 2, to the new node 4. Now within node 4, I want to key out the red of the flower. Very easy, distinctive colours, super easy to key out, which is of course why I picked them for this demonstration. Now I have two nodes with two separate keys, but how do I turn this into a single key combining two colours? Well, we use a new advanced form of node that we have not yet seen. I'm going to right-click, add node, add key mixer node. And this gives us this little rectangle here with two alpha inputs and one alpha output. I need to drag the squares, the alpha output, into the inputs of the key mixer node from both of the nodes whose keys I want to combine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two selections and combine them into one node so that one node is working within both of these qualifications. I now need to make a new corrector, add a corrector node, and I can just left click and drag this empty corrector node, serial node, onto the noodle. When it highlights yellow, I let go, and then, boom, it's integrated into our line of nodes. And then I want to click and drag my output of my key mixer onto the input of the new node. Now, you may notice that the RGB output of node 4 is not going anywhere. That does not matter. As long as we have a continuous line from output to input somewhere, we get a final image. If I break this connector, we lose our grade because the output is not receiving all of this work. I need one continuous line through. The only purpose of node 4 is to generate the key for the red of the flower. We're not actually changing any colors within this node. Its only purpose is to generate that qualification, which we're using with the key combiner to make a qualification in this node, node 6, which we are now working within. So now, if I look at this qualification, lo and behold, I now have the blue and the red qualified. And within this one node, anything I do is applied to all of the qualified colors. I could maybe adjust my I/O a little bit here. In fact, I could. There we go. Change that qualification to make it just a little bit better on the red flower. And now, within this node, I can selectively saturate or desaturate those colors. If I was going for a very stylized, almost Sin City type look, I could build a number of complex qualifications around the colors that I want to work with. So that's how we combine two different alpha channels into one node. And this is actually an extremely useful technique. It's a very, very good one, so it's a good one to be aware of. And as we work through the real-world projects, you will see this being used on occasion. Combining keys and combining alpha is really powerful and lets you do some very, very advanced stuff, as I've hopefully shown. We're going to use this more and more in the real-world projects later on, but this has been a pretty good intro. So we're pretty close to putting all of this into practice on a corporate video. So what I want you to do is a little bit of practice with this. Just fiddle around with some footage that I've given you and go on through to the next lecture once you're ready.